Hi there, Doc from Barcast Audio here today to talk with you about the Florida bar exam. Are you in Florida? Are you in law school? Are you thinking about going to law school? I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Florida bar exam, how it differs from California, New York, the other uniform bar exam states. Let's jump right into it now. So to begin, the Florida bar exam is a two-day, two-part exam. Now, Part A of the bar exam, of the Florida bar exam, is going to be different from Part B in that it tests you only on state-specific Florida law. And when I say only, it's going to test you on a number of MBE subjects as well, but only as they apply to Florida law. Now, Part A of the exam is actually broken down into two parts unto itself. The first section of Part A of the exam is going to be a 3-hour multiple-choice question set that will test 3 of the following subjects. 1, Florida constitutional law. 2, federal constitutional law. 3, trusts. 4, business entities. 5, real property. 6, evidence. 7, torts. 8, wills and administration of estates. 9, criminal law and procedure. 10, contracts. 11, Article 3 and Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code. 12, family law. 13, Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 of the rules regulating the Florida bar, otherwise known as ethics. And 14, professionalism. Now, understand that even though I just listed 14 subjects, only 3 of these will be tested in the multiple choice section of the exam. And there are certain subjects that come up more often than others. So don't stress too much that you have to kind of be searching for what to know for these questions. Unfortunately, the question bank, the opportunity for you to take practice questions, is not as vast as the MBE, the multi-state bar exam, that we'll talk about a little bit later. So that is a bit of a challenge in preparing for the Florida bar exam, but there is enough material out there to adequately prepare you. And most bar exam courses, Barcast included, understand what is more commonly tested on those days. So we break those down as we go through whatever course you're taking. So that is typically the morning session of the exam. So you get to the exam, you spend 3 hours taking multiple choice questions, and then you break for lunch. Now, when you come back from lunch, the second part of Part A of the Florida bar exam is the essays. And now everyone has a lot of fear about the Florida essays in general on the bar exam. And what is tested on the Florida bar exam essays? Let's just break it down. So the second part of Part A of the Florida bar exam, the essays, are going to be 3 hours, 3 one-hour essays that is going to test you on any number of the MBE subjects we talked about before, as well as the subjects I just referenced, as well as the 14 I just referenced. So it's going to test you on the MBE general multi-state bar exam subjects like torts, con law, evidence, criminal law, criminal procedure, all that stuff, as well as Florida law. So it's going to be a combination of the two. So obviously it requires you to know a lot of stuff. And for the most part, your bar exam course is going to prepare you for everything you could know. So don't stress necessarily all you need to know there. But I just want to give you sort of that big picture understanding that there is a lot required knowledge-wise for the evidence here, for the essays here. You'll notice that the Florida bar exam essays differ from the uniform bar exam essays in that the UBE requires only 6 about 30-minute essays, whereas the Florida bar exam requires more detailed 1-hour long essays. So the Florida essays are gonna bring in a longer, more complex hypothetical typically in order to bring in more subjects, more nuances on the MBE subjects as well as the Florida nuances of the law. So after you're done with your 3 1-hour long essays, you're done for day 1, you're done with Part A of the exam. You move on to Part B. You come back the next day for Part B of the exam, the multi-state bar exam. Now this multi-state bar exam, I talked about it already, but it is a 2-part, 200 question, 6-hour exam, multiple choice, and it's going to test you on a number of subjects that I'll break down in a minute. But understand it's going to be 2 3-hour sessions, once again, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, and this test is going to be administered all over the country. Every bar exam uses this day of the exam, so it's the same across the country. So you've already taken the Florida specific portion, so now you're just limited to the universe of the MBE. You don't have to worry about the Florida con law, Florida nuances that we talked about in day 1. It's only on the MBE as tested across the rest of the country. Now, it's important to note here that many attorneys take the Florida bar exam as their second or third bar exam, as an exam that is not necessarily their first jurisdiction. So it's important to note how that changes how you're preparing for this exam, because under certain circumstances, you may only have to take Part A of the exam. And let's talk about the circumstance. If you've recently taken the multi-state bar exam as part of either the California bar exam or the uniform bar exam or another bar exam in a different state, and there are circumstances if you receive a certain score under which you can transfer that MBE score into Florida and take only part A of the bar exam, meaning that you only have to take the Florida specific portion. If you reach a certain score threshold, then you can just waive the MBE portion of the exam and sort of admit just the passing grade. So the bar exam for Florida is graded in sort of a strange way. You receive a passing or failing score on parts A and part B. So if you transfer in your MBE score, you just receive a passing grade for that MBE score for part B. But your grade, like your points you accumulated for that score, are not counted towards passing for part A. Whereas if you get a good MBE score, if you take both parts, you can use some of your passing skill. You can still pass the Florida bar exam while failing part A of the exam if you score well enough on the MBE. And that's only if you don't transfer in your score. That's if you take both parts. So it is something to consider. If you're somebody who really crushed the MBE, it was just something that came naturally to you, it may be advantageous for you to take it again because you can make up for what you may lose otherwise in the Florida portion of the exam. If you're somebody who just got over that threshold and got just good enough of an MBE score, it may not be advantageous for you to do that. It may be worth it just to transfer in just the MBE and then take the Florida portion and see what happens there. It's important to note that if you do waive in your MBE score, transfer in your MBE score, and you fail just the Florida portion of the exam, you fail the exam. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if you take both parts together, like I mentioned before, and you fail the Florida portion of the exam and you crush the MBE, you can still pass the exam overall. So that is sort of the calculus you have to do when considering what you want to do in terms of transferring your score into the Florida bar exam. So what is that score? A passing grade under this Florida transfer method is an average scaled score of 136 or better. So keep all that in mind if you're thinking about taking the Florida bar exam. Now, if you take if you take part B, if you do the 2 3-hour sessions, 100 questions each, and you do well on those, you're done. That is the Florida bar exam encapsulated. You cover the MBE subjects, you cover the Florida specific subjects. It is essentially 4 3-hour sessions across 2 days, potentially only 2 3-hour sessions if you're able to transfer in your MBE score, and that just about does it for us here. If you have any further questions, check out barcastaudio.com. You can contact me. I have my contact information in the video below. Check us out at Barcast Audio if you're studying for the bar exam. We have MBE outlines, audio outlines, essay attack sheets, full bar exam prep, whatever you can need. Check us out at barcastaudio.com. Until later, I will talk to you guys soon. Bye now.